Hi everybody, this week we're tackling script writing. I understand for many students this is probably the least familiar, most uncomfortable milestone you'll have to complete. Very few people have concrete experience in script writing, but I assure you, you all can do it. It might be one of the simplest milestones, but it's also going to be maybe the hardest just to conceptualize. So this week, to be clear, you're just writing a script. You don't have to record or perform anything. I mean, if you want to do that, that's fantastic. I will gladly watch it, but it is not a requirement for this class, and you don't need to do that to be successful. We're just writing the script, and I'll talk a little bit more about what that means in a moment. So I just want to remind you, I think you guys probably already know this, but I remind you of a few things that'll help you be a successful script writer. So we'll talk about audience, we'll talk about the goals, we're going to talk about some components you can add to your script to make it more successful. So the first thing, of course, is audience. We've been talking about the rhetorical situation all quarter and trying to decide who your audience is. And for this one, it's the general public. That's a given, right, with the assignment. But your responsibility as the rhetorician is to determine what does this public audience mean? What are their needs? Why is the information you're presenting to them relevant? I think I've written this quite a bit in the rubric as well this quarter, and that's that we need to consider why an audience needs to know a piece of information and what we want them to do with it. And then to make this very clear without a doubt to your audience so that they know why you're telling them this and they know what the expectation is. So the more clear you can be about that with your script, the better off you're going to be. So please do a little research into the public audience so that you can frame your information to fit them, right? And so when we think of public audience, we probably mean people with access to the internet or people with access to TV. So it isn't everybody. There is a difference between the public audience and everyone. Some people don't have those luxuries in life. So knowing who you're reaching out to is really helpful. I'm talking about like demographics, maybe socioeconomic status, what they expect to hear from their news forums, that type of thing might be helpful in framing this message to your audience more clearly. The other things I want to address are the goals of your script. Obviously, the goal is to share information, but as a rhetorician, and I think you probably have gleaned this from some of my comments and posts so far, I believe that every piece of communication has a persuasive element to it, whether or not we intend to. Because when you present the information, it's one way of seeing or explaining something. There are many, many other ways to see and explain the same problem, but you've chosen one way. And in choosing that one way, you're trying to shape how someone else views a particular recall or a particular piece of PR information. So I urge you to think of these scripts as persuasive, as presenting information, but in a persuasive way. We'll put it that way. So obviously, first goal to present the information. And then I would say the second goal is to maintain some sort of brand identity or goodwill towards the organization that you're presenting. This becomes especially important if you're presenting on a recall or if you're presenting on some bad news that reflects poorly on the company's practices or even just a small mistake that the company has made. So obviously be forthright about what has happened, but it doesn't hurt to frame it in a way that shines a positive light on an organization. And I'll go back to the Del Monte recall, which was an option for you guys to choose at the beginning of the quarter. So they've recalled these apples because they're infected with listeria, or possibly. So you're going to want to maybe bank on this Del Monte tradition of trust and talk about this and say, we're sorry this happened, but we really believe our company is one that you can trust, and we want to regain your trust by doing X, Y, and Z, right? So that frames Del Monte in a really positive light, but it's also highlighting the problem and being honest about what's happened. So the goal is twofold. Present the information, whether it's positive or negative, and then also do some face work or face-saving work for the company that you are operating with. So could be just a quick line at the end. It doesn't have to be the whole thing, but just think about what the consequences of this are. You don't want people to stop buying Del Monte brand apples because they had one recall incident, right? You want them to restore faith in the company. You want them to be able to think about this in a new way, or at least know that Del Monte has their backs, right? So make sure that those ideas come across in the presentation as well. I also want to cover just a few things you can do to make your script stronger. So you are ideally writing a dialogue of what happens. So if there are people interacting, you're writing a dialogue. If it's a newscaster just presenting, you'll want to have their script. It might just be a paragraph. But you also want to be very descriptive about what's going on outside of what's being said. Because remember, when we're watching a video, be it online, on Facebook, on YouTube, or on the TV, there are other things going on, right? Other than just what we're hearing. We are seeing somebody. How is that person dressed? What are they wearing? Are they an important person that we'd recognize? For example, a CEO of a company. Is it a newscaster that we would recognize? Who is this person that's giving the information? You'll want to include all of these details to kind of create this rhetorical situation, this ideal rhetorical situation. This is the context. So describing what someone's wearing, you'll want to describe the background, what's behind them. I have a picture and some vases and a lamp. This isn't an accident. Every week I try and film the video in the same place with good lighting, the best lighting I can find in my home, right? So be clear about where things are taking place, what's behind them. If it's a newscaster presenting, what little box might be popping up in the side corner, maybe an image or some other text. Often that happens. So you'll want to talk about those things. You'll also want to talk about tone. What kind of tone are the actors or actresses using, or the newscaster? What kind of tone is being used? What's the setting? There can be more than one. Perhaps you're in the newsroom talking and then you flash to, I don't know, the place where the car recall happened, the GM factory, right? And you're showing what happened with the recall, where the brake doesn't work or the airbag is not put together properly. So being clear about when these transitions happen is extremely important. And then the last little detail that I encourage you to add is timing. Don't take it for granted that you have read your script and it took a minute and I'll just know that it's a minute. I don't. So I need you to be as explicit as you can about timing. So for the first 10 seconds, we're going to be here with this on the screen. Somebody is saying this. Then for the next 2 seconds, we flash to this image, right? And this is being said. There are a number of ways that you can do this. I'll let you guys be in charge of format. You can do columns that show image, text, timing. You can do a whole array of different things. You could do paragraphs and have in between the paragraphs kind of timing or what have you. Just make sure that all these components are present. So organizing the document might be a little bit of a challenge. You can also just Google script writing formats or templates, and there are probably some helpful guidelines out there that can help you format this if you're struggling. Or I'm here too, as always, to help. So yeah, so that's script writing. I hope this kind of eases your mind and helps you get a handle on what you might do for writing a script. And I look forward to seeing what you guys come up with. Have a great day. Bye.